The Nostradamus Effect, startling 2025 prophecies that will leave you speechless. Nostradamus, the 16th century French apothecary and astrologer, still looms large in the modern imagination. His brief, cryptic quatrains, collected in Les Prophecies, have invited centuries of interpretation and debate. Part poetry, part riddle, they resist single meanings, which is exactly why they continue to feel timely whenever the world wobbles. In 2025, interest in his verses has spiked once more. Economic unease, deepening social divides, and shifts in global power are driving many to look back for clues about the future. In uncertain times, humans instinctively search for patterns, and Nostradamus provides a mirror reflecting both our hopes and our anxieties. The question is unavoidable. Are we merely projecting today's turmoil onto old lines of verse, or do his writings genuinely anticipate the kinds of upheavals we're living through? This exploration begins by holding both possibilities in view, treating the quatrains as provocative symbols, while asking whether they're themes of financial strain, social unrest, and emergent leadership are, in fact, unfolding now. Number 1. Context and the appeal of the prophecies. Nostradamus's enduring fame is rooted in his monumental work, Les Prophecies, a mysterious collection of 942 quatrains, 4-line verses meticulously arranged into sections he called centuries. These verses were crafted in a fascinating linguistic blend of early modern French, Latin, and occasional regional dialects, creating a tapestry of words rich with astrological references, cryptic historical hints, and symbolic imagery that seems to whisper from the edges of time. This deliberate complexity is not simply decorative, it is the source of the work's power. Because the language is dense, indirect, and filled with metaphor, each reader is left with a text that resists a single, fixed interpretation. There are no clear names, no exact dates, and no precise locations to anchor the predictions, which means people across centuries have been free to connect the verses to whatever events feel most urgent or threatening in their own time. A war in the 16th century, a revolution in the 18th, or a global conflict in the 20th can all be found in the lines if one is willing to see the patterns. This openness to interpretation has only been amplified by centuries of translations, each adding subtle differences, along with selective quoting by writers eager to make a certain connection appear obvious. As a result, the quatrains act less like a rigid script and more like an elastic mirror, stretching to reflect whatever fears or hopes the reader brings to them. This is why so many point to dramatic historical moments, from Napoleon's ascent to power to the devastation of World War II, as eerie fulfillments of Nostradamus's visions. Supporters insist that certain phrases align with these events so precisely that coincidence seems impossible, while critics argue the opposite. We recognize what fits, ignore what doesn't, and gently reshape the rest until it matches a classic case of confirmation bias and the Barnum effect, where vague language feels personal and specific because we want it to. And yet, both sides have merit. The ambiguity of the text undeniably invites projection, but the recurring themes Nostradamus explored, war, famine, upheavals in power, are not random. They are the rhythms of human history itself, patterns that repeat across centuries and civilizations, which is precisely why the quatrains can always feel relevant. For believers, this recurrence is proof of prophetic insight. For skeptics, it is the very reason the verses will always seem accurate, regardless of the era. Either way, the result is the same. These centuries-old words continue to captivate. They offer a riddle that refuses to be solved, a puzzle that reshapes itself for each new generation, and a strangely comforting way of making sense of chaos. Whether read in awe as glimpses into the future or dissected as clever linguistic constructions, Nostradamus's verses remain a cultural touchstone, echoing through the ages, as both a warning and an invitation to look more closely at the world, to wonder about what lies ahead, and perhaps to find meaning in the shifting shadows of history itself. Number 2. Major prophetic themes for 2025. Prophecy number 1. Global economic unraveling. Let's step into the world of Nostradamus's words for a moment, not as blind believers, but as curious observers looking for meaning in the patterns of history and the whispers of the future. He wrote, "The rich shall die many times over. Gold and silver are cast into the fire. A new hunger will emerge amidst the chaos. What was saved will be lost, and the great will tremble." At first glance, these lines may sound like the language of doom, but if we strip away the poetry and look closely, they seem to speak of something we've seen time and again: the unraveling of economic systems when greed, inequality, and instability grow unchecked. Think about what happens when the value of money and assets suddenly collapses, when markets tumble, banks fail, and those at the top are no longer untouchable. Could it be that the rich dying many times over is not about literal death, but about the loss of wealth, status, and power in the face of forces they can't control? The image of gold and silver being cast into the fire feels like a loss of faith in traditional wealth, something we've already glimpsed as inflation eats away at savings, cryptocurrencies swing wildly, energy prices skyrocket, and supply chains fracture like thin ice under pressure. Now, picture the ripple effect of such a moment. When resources shrink, a new hunger emerges, not just physical hunger for food, but a hunger for stability, security, and trust in the systems meant to protect us. If what we have saved can vanish overnight, how do we measure wealth? Is it the number in our bank account, the gold in our vault, or the strength of our communities when crisis strikes? Economists today might not use the language of prophecy, but they see similar patterns through stress testing markets, running risk models, and studying how a single disruption, whether in banking, energy, or shipping, can cascade through the entire global economy. That's where the so-called Nostradamus Effect begins to feel less like supernatural foresight and more like a reminder of human nature's cycles: boom and bust, rise and fall, confidence and collapse. We have a strange habit of thinking each crisis is unprecedented, yet history shows us that the seeds of collapse are often sown during times of plenty, when warning signs are ignored because the good times seem endless. So, if 2025 were to bring a financial reckoning, it wouldn't be the result of some mystical curse. It would be the culmination of choices, patterns, and vulnerabilities already visible to anyone who cares to look. The question is, will we be the ones who prepare and adapt, or will we join the chorus of those great ones who tremble when the inevitable comes? Nostradamus's words, whether you see them as prophecy or poetry, invite us to think critically about the fragility of the systems we depend on. They remind us that true security is rarely found in hoarded wealth alone, but in resilience, adaptability, and the strength of the bonds we share with others. If wealth can burn, let us invest in what cannot: knowledge, kindness, integrity, and the capacity to stand together when storms arrive. The lesson here is simple yet urgent. Watch the patterns, heed the warnings, and build a kind of wealth no market crash can take from you. Do you want me to also rewrite the next prophecy section from your content in this same style, so the tone stays consistent across your entire script? Prophecy number 2, social upheaval and revolution. Let's turn to Nostradamus's next haunting vision, one that seems to pulse with the heartbeat of human history itself. The people will rise against their kings, blood will stain the streets. The cries of the oppressed will echo, and a new order will be born from the ashes. At first, it reads like a scene torn from the pages of a revolution, the clash of the ruled against the rulers, the collapse of old systems, the birth of something new and untested. But if you read it through the lens of our modern world, it feels less like a relic of the past and more like a forecast of pressures already building all around us. We've seen it in massive street protests demanding climate action, in movements calling for racial justice and equality, in the growing refusal to accept governments or corporations that seem disconnected from the struggles of ordinary people. You and I live in a time when information spreads faster than any royal decree ever could, where a single video or tweet can spark global outrage and unite strangers across borders in a shared cause. Yet this same speed can fuel division, magnify anger, and create waves of unrest that are almost impossible to contain once they begin. Social scientists today can measure what prophecy can only hint at. They can read the mood of millions through social media sentiment, track the growth of movements with network analysis, and identify tipping points where frustration hardens into action. And still, the core human drivers remain the same as they were centuries ago: the sense that those in power have failed to protect the vulnerable, the feeling that promises have been broken, the belief that change, no matter how uncertain, is better than enduring injustice. Look closely at recent history, and you'll see the same mechanics playing out in very different ways. The rapid, unpredictable wave of the Arab Spring, the slower but still seismic political shift of Brexit, and countless other uprisings, marches, and ballot box revolts. The details differ, but the pattern repeats. Polarization builds, people mobilize, and a story takes hold that is powerful enough to move millions. And here's where Nostradamus's final line matters most: a new order from the ashes. That isn't a promise of a better world, it's a reminder that the outcome of upheaval is never guaranteed. The same fire that can clear the ground for renewal can also scorch it so badly that nothing grows for years. So what does that mean for us, standing on the edge of 2025 with tensions rising in so many corners of the globe? It means that the future will be shaped not just by whether change comes, but by how we respond to it, whether we feed the flames with fear and division or guide them toward light and rebuilding. It means asking ourselves difficult questions. When the pressure for change reaches a boiling point, will we demand justice in ways that create unity, or will we let the chaos consume us? And most of all, it means recognizing that we are not just witnesses to history, we are participants in it. Nostradamus's words challenge us to see the signs before they turn into fire in the streets, and to understand that the new order we inherit will be the one we build together. If there's a lesson here, it's that true revolution is not only about tearing down what is broken, it's about ensuring that what rises from the ashes is worth the struggle it took to get there. If you've watched up to this point, you're already diving deep into the mysteries of the Nostradamus Effect and the shocking prophecies for 2025. Comment below with "future ready" to show you're prepared for what's coming. Don't go anywhere, the most jaw-dropping revelations are still ahead. Stay until the end to uncover the predictions that could change how you see the world forever. Prophecy number 3. The rise of a major leader from the East. Nostradamus's next vision carries a sense of quiet power and global consequence. A great leader will rise from the East, with wisdom and fire in his eyes. The West will tremble at his power, but unity will follow in his wake. When we bring these words into today's context, they speak less of mystical destiny and more of a reality we can already see taking shape. Across the vast stretch of the East, from the bustling cities of China to the rapidly developing hubs of India and Southeast Asia, economic strength, technological capability, and political influence are growing at a pace the world hasn't witnessed in centuries. The leader described here could be a single powerful head of state, a coalition of nations working in lockstep, or even a new kind of regional institution, one that doesn't just respond to global issues, but actively sets the agenda on trade, artificial intelligence, climate agreements, and energy security. For decades, the West has dominated the framework of global decision-making, but in recent years, the balance has been shifting, and this quatrain seems to hint at a moment when that shift will be undeniable. The phrase, "the West will tremble," doesn't necessarily mean fear in the sense of danger. It can mean a deep awareness that the old way of doing things will no longer hold, forcing countries to adapt to new power dynamics. But the most intriguing part is the ending. Unity will follow in his wake. That leaves us with a choice to consider. Will this rise from the East lead to an era of cooperation where East and West build a more stable and fair global system together? Or will it trigger fierce competition that forces unity only through the pressure of survival? Political science gives us clues about what kind of leadership can bridge such divides. In moments of crisis, the leaders who make a lasting mark are those with vision, able to see beyond immediate gains and think in decades instead of election cycles. They have strategic acuity, knowing when to stand firm and when to negotiate, and they excel in coalition management, building alliances that endure even under strain. Most importantly, they know how to turn soft power, culture, diplomacy, innovation into real, lasting influence through strong institutions. A leader from the East who embodies these traits could very well be the one to guide the world through shared challenges like climate change, resource management, and technological disruption. Yet history also warns us that the same qualities that can build unity can, if used for self-interest alone, deepen rivalries and quicken the pace of a major power transition, creating instability before any harmony can emerge. That's why this prophecy isn't just about who the leader will be, but about how they will lead and why they will rise. For us, living in this moment, the lesson is clear. We should pay attention not just to personalities, but to the systems and values they promote. Global unity doesn't happen by accident. It's built step by step through shared goals and the willingness to respect different perspectives without losing sight of the greater good. Whether this prophecy unfolds as a story of cooperation or confrontation will depend as much on the choices of ordinary citizens and smaller nations as it does on the figure at the center of the stage. So, as we step into 2025, perhaps the real question isn't just who this great leader from the East might be, but what role each of us will play in shaping the unity or disunity that follows. 3. The Crossroads of Science and Mysticism. When we reach the final thread of these 2025 prophecies, Nostradamus's words invite us into a space where two seemingly opposite worlds meet the crossroads of science and mysticism. At first glance, science is grounded in numbers, experiments, and evidence, while mysticism speaks through symbols, visions, and metaphors. Yet, in times of great uncertainty, both seem to be reaching for the same goal: understanding what lies ahead and helping us prepare for it. Science gives us forecasting tools that operate like finely tuned instruments, econometric models to test how financial systems might respond to shocks, and network analysis to see how disruptions spread from one part of the world to another, and social signal tracking that picks up early signs of unrest, division, or instability. These are methods that measure probabilities, adapt when they're wrong, and give leaders and institutions data they can act on. Mysticism, on the other hand, trades in archetypes and imagery, offering us famine, fire, the fall of rulers, compact symbols that take complex forces and compress them into something instantly felt and remembered. Where science can sometimes drown in charts and percentages, mysticism tells a story that stirs the human heart, framing chaos in ways that feel urgent and alive. And here's where the two approaches unexpectedly align. Both are obsessed with patterns. Science looks for repeatable trends like boom and bust cycles, political legitimacy crises, or the chain reaction of a contagious idea. Mysticism captures those same cycles in rich and dramatic motifs that anyone can understand. Think about it in the context of what we've already discussed. Economists today run stress tests and tail risk models to gauge the fragility of our global financial system, and their warnings often sound like a modern echo of Nostradamus's gold and silver cast into the fire. Political analysts track public sentiment and protest movements long before they erupt, uncovering patterns of discontent that align with his imagery of the people rising against their kings. It's almost as if the scientists are providing the blueprint while the mystics are painting the picture on the wall. Both may be describing the same reality from different angles, and both can be wrong. But when they point in the same direction, it's hard not to pay attention. In a world like ours, where we can wake up one morning to a market crash, a geopolitical crisis, or a sudden cultural shift, we need both lenses. Science equips us with actions we can take, now adjust policies, strengthen systems, diversify risks, while mysticism keeps us aware of the bigger narrative, reminding us that these events are part of larger cycles that have repeated across history. For those of us heading into 2025, the lesson is simple yet powerful. Don't cling only to data or only to story, learn from both. Let science sharpen your understanding, but let the language of symbols and archetypes keep you connected to meaning. After all, numbers may tell you when a storm is likely, but stories remind you why you should care enough to prepare. And in a time when the world can feel like it's only one misstep away from the edge, being able to see through both the microscope and the telescope might just be what helps us navigate what's coming next. Actions you can take now to step into 2025 with readiness and peace. Prophecies may stir our imagination, but preparation shapes our future. If Nostradamus's words for 2025 hold even a shred of truth, they're not just warnings, they're a call to action. In the face of economic tremors, social unrest, shifting global powers, and the blur between science and mysticism, we have a choice. Watch history unfold, or step into it with clarity, courage, and a plan. Here's how to prepare, not with fear, but with the kind of strength no crisis can take away. Number 1. Build assets that can't burn. Here in 2025, the smartest thing you can do is start building what I like to call assets that can't burn, the kind of wealth no crisis can destroy. In a world where economies can shift overnight and possessions can vanish in an instant, it's easy to measure security by the weight of our wallets or the size of our homes. Yet the Buddha once reminded us, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame. True stability comes from the strength we cultivate within ourselves, our knowledge, our skills, our resilience, and the trust we nurture with others. These are the treasures no fire can consume and no market crash can erase. Money has its place, but if it's your only anchor, you'll find yourself adrift when the tides of life change. Instead, invest in learning, whether that means improving your craft, developing problem-solving abilities, or understanding how to adapt when life doesn't go as planned. In doing so, you're not just protecting your future, you're expanding your capacity to create value in any situation. Financial wisdom begins with small, consistent actions, managing spending so that you live within your means, building an emergency fund not from fear but from foresight, and diversifying your resources so you are never entirely dependent on one stream of support. These habits create the quiet confidence that allows you to face uncertainty with calm, and in difficult times, it is often not the one with the most gold who thrives, but the one who can see opportunities where others see only obstacles. There is an old Zen saying, When the flower doesn't bloom, fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. This is the mindset that transforms challenges into growth. If your income dries up, your skill in solving problems becomes the wellspring. If your possessions are lost, your relationships become the shelter. If the world changes, your adaptability becomes your passport to a new beginning. In our modern lives, this might mean learning digital skills to keep pace with evolving industries, strengthening your network, not with shallow contacts but with genuine connections, or practicing clear and compassionate communication so that people trust and want to work with you. It could also mean cultivating emotional intelligence so you can lead with steadiness when others are swept away by panic. Remember, every hour you spend developing yourself multiplies in value over time. It compounds in ways that material wealth never can. As the Dalai Lama has said, share your knowledge. It is a way to achieve immortality. When you build unburnable assets, you are not just securing your own peace. You are creating a ripple of strength that can support family, friends, and community. This is how you walk into 2025 not just prepared for what may come, but deeply rooted in the kind of stability that no storm can uproot. If you're watching this, you're already preparing to make 2025 your most peaceful and purposeful year yet. Drop "My Peaceful Year" in the comments to declare your commitment. Stay tuned, what's coming next will help you enter the new year with strength, clarity, and joy. Number 2. Strengthen society's immune system with compassion. When tensions rise in the world around you, you have a choice. Will you be the one who builds bridges, or the one who adds more bricks to the walls that already separate us? In times of uncertainty, our communities can feel like living bodies, sensitive, reactive, and in need of care. Just like our physical immune system protects us from illness, society's immune system is made up of our collective kindness, understanding, and willingness to help each other. Every act of compassion you offer, whether it's listening without judgment, speaking truth with care, or choosing not to spread harmful rumors, becomes a dose of protection that keeps this shared body healthy. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law." Ask yourself, when you see conflict or misunderstanding, are you adding fuel to the fire, or are you helping to cool the flames? In our digital age, anger spreads faster than the truth, and misinformation can travel like wildfire. Before you share anything, whether it's a news story, a social media post, or even gossip, pause and check. Is it true? Is it necessary? Will it help? That small moment of reflection can be the difference between deepening a wound or beginning to heal it. How often do we stop to think about the ripple effect of our words and actions? What would our communities look like if each of us acted with the same care we'd want for ourselves or our loved ones? Lasting change doesn't come from grand gestures alone. It's built through small, consistent acts of fairness, empathy, and cooperation. It's in the way you greet your neighbor, the patience you show in a disagreement, the courage you have to listen even when you don't fully agree. These might seem like tiny steps, but together they create a path toward a healthier, stronger society. Think about the last time someone treated you with unexpected kindness. Did it not shift your mood, maybe even your whole day? You have that same power in every interaction. So as you step into 2025, remember, you're not powerless against the storms of division. You are part of the immune system that protects the whole. Your compassion is a form of resistance against bitterness. Your patience is a shield against fear. Your empathy is a light in the fog of misunderstanding. Strengthen these qualities in yourself, and you'll strengthen the world around you. Lesson to carry forward. The health of society depends on the health of our hearts. Every moment you choose connection over separation, truth over rumor, and kindness over hostility, you contribute to a world that is more resilient, more peaceful, and more just. Ask yourself every day, am I healing the body of society or am I hurting it? Then act in a way that makes you proud of the answer. Number 3. Adapt proactively to the new global order. You and I are living in a time when the world is changing faster than any of us could have imagined. Political landscapes are shifting, economies are being reshaped, cultures are blending in ways that were once unthinkable. These changes can feel overwhelming if we approach them with fear or resistance, but they can also become a source of strength and opportunity if we meet them with openness and curiosity. The Buddha once said, "All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. If we hold too tightly to the way things were, we suffer. But when we accept that change is inevitable, we can choose to respond skillfully." So, let me ask you, are you holding on to the past, or are you learning how to dance with the present? When you look at the shifting global power structures, you might be tempted to judge who is winning or losing. But what if we stepped out of that mindset altogether? Instead of taking sides, you could choose to see the bigger picture, that humanity's well-being depends on cooperation, not competition. Across history, nations and cultures have risen and fallen, yet the truth remains no one thrives in isolation. The Dalai Lama once shared, "In the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is the best teacher." What would it mean if you approached people and cultures that seem foreign, even threatening, as teachers instead of opponents? Now is the time to strengthen your ability to work across cultures. This is not just about learning a few polite greetings in another language. It's about cultivating the patience to listen deeply, the humility to accept that your way is not the only way, and the wisdom to find common ground even when differences seem vast. Think about it. How often do you truly listen when someone from a different background is speaking? Do you listen only to reply, or do you listen to understand? This is where real bridge building begins. Adapting proactively means preparing yourself before you are forced to. If you wait until the tide of change sweeps you off your feet, you'll be reacting from a place of fear. But if you start now, learning new skills, broadening your worldview, building friendships across borders, you'll stand steady no matter how the waves crash. In the Dhammapada, it says, "The wise man shapes himself like a fletcher shapes an arrow." You have the power to shape yourself into someone who can thrive in a connected, complex, and unpredictable world. So here's your reflection for today. In this coming year, how can you become a person who adds to cooperation and shared prosperity instead of fueling division? Can you seek out a conversation with someone whose beliefs challenge you? Can you learn something new about a culture you know little about? Can you offer kindness to someone whose life experience is completely different from yours? Remember, peace in the world begins with peace in the heart. If you cultivate understanding within yourself, you become a quiet yet powerful force for unity in the larger world. And that, my friend, is the essence of adapting proactively, not just surviving change, but becoming the kind of person who helps the whole world change for the better. You've stayed with us this far, which means you're ready to step into 2025 with calm confidence. Type "ready and peaceful" in the comments to seal your intention for the year ahead. Keep watching, there's still more inspiration coming to help you move forward with a clear mind and an open heart. Number 4. Combine science with intuition. Combine science with intuition, because in our fast-changing world, relying on only one is like walking with one eye closed. Facts, figures, and data are powerful tools. They help us make informed choices, understand trends, and see patterns we might otherwise miss. But life is not lived only in spreadsheets and charts. There are moments when something inside you quietly whispers a truth no report can capture. Perhaps you've felt it before, the hesitation that keeps you from saying yes to an offer that looks perfect on paper, or the nudge that encourages you to take a path that others doubt. yet somehow feels right in your bones. Science can show you the map by outlining the terrain, the risks, opportunities, and probabilities, yet intuition is the compass that helps you decide which direction to walk when the road forks in unexpected ways. In modern life, headlines bombard us with information every second, from economic forecasts to technological breakthroughs, and it's easy to feel that numbers tell the whole story. But the truth is, numbers don't capture the subtle changes in people's moods, the undercurrents in your workplace, or the quiet shifts in your relationships. If you pay attention to both the measurable facts and the felt sense, you develop a deeper wisdom that guides you through uncertainty with confidence. This is what it means to read the signs of the times, to notice not just what is written in news articles or business reports, but also what is unfolding in the rhythm of your daily life, the way conversations feel different, the way communities shift, the way nature's cycles seem to speak. As you step into 2025, try making decisions by asking yourself two questions. What do the facts tell me? And what does my inner sense tell me? If they agree, you have clarity. If they differ, take time to listen more deeply before acting. Think of a pilot flying through a storm. Yes, they rely on instruments, but they also trust their experience and instincts to navigate safely. In your own journey, combining science with intuition not only makes you more adaptable, it brings a kind of peace because you are not over-relying on what others say, nor blindly following a feeling. You are walking forward with both wisdom and awareness. This balance keeps you grounded when the world feels unpredictable, and it invites a calm confidence that no matter what changes 2025 may bring, you will have both the tools and the inner guidance to meet them well. Number 5. Keep your mind steady in the midst of change. As we step closer to 2025, one of the most powerful skills you can carry with you is the ability to keep your mind steady in the midst of change. Life is always moving, seasons shift, people come and go, situations rise and fall, and while you can't control the wind, you can learn to steady your own boat. How do you respond when the pace of life speeds up or when uncertainty knocks on your door? Do you let your thoughts scatter like leaves in a storm, or can you stand rooted, calm, and clear? Setting aside a few moments each day for stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity for inner stability. This could be a short meditation before your morning begins, a slow and mindful walk where you truly notice each step, or even 3 deep, deliberate breaths taken in the middle of a busy afternoon. These simple acts are like anchors for the mind, reminding you that peace isn't something the world gives you, it's something you cultivate from within. A calm mind isn't just about feeling relaxed, it's about seeing clearly. When you are still inside, you can look at events without being swept away by panic or impulse. The Buddha taught that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. This means that when your mind is filled with noise, confusion becomes your guide, but when your mind is clear, wisdom becomes your compass. Have you noticed how easy it is to make poor decisions when you're stressed or restless, and how different your choices become when you pause, breathe, and allow yourself a moment to see things as they are? In times of change, whether it's a shift in your career, a change in relationships, or even global uncertainty, that clarity is what helps you respond with grace rather than react with regret. Think of your daily stillness practice as mental training. Just as you strengthen your body through regular exercise, you strengthen your mind through regular pauses. At first, it might feel uncomfortable or even unproductive, because the world often tells you that you must always be doing something. But in truth, stillness is one of the most productive things you can do for your mental health, your decision-making, and your relationships. When you are calm inside, you don't just protect your own peace, you become a source of calm for the people around you. Your energy, your words, and even your presence can inspire others to slow down and find their own balance. As we prepare to walk into 2025, ask yourself, what would my life look like if I carried a steady mind through every challenge? How would my relationships change if I spoke from clarity instead of from fear? How much better could my decisions be if I took a breath before I acted? These questions are not just for reflection, they are invitations to practice. The beauty is, you can start right now. Even today, before you finish listening to this, you can pause, close your eyes, breathe deeply 3 times, and feel the shift in your body and mind. The lesson is simple but profound. Change is inevitable, but chaos is optional. Your mind is like water. When it's turbulent, you can't see anything clearly. When it's still, the reflection becomes clear. Cultivate that stillness daily, protect it fiercely, and carry it with you into every moment of the new year. This is how you step into 2025, not just prepared, but truly at peace. As we've seen, the prophecies of Nostradamus are more than ancient words on a page. They're a mirror reflecting our fears, our hopes, and the choices we face in uncertain times. Whether you see them as warning or poetry, the true power lies in how we respond. Prepare wisely, stay grounded, and remember that even in turbulent waters, you can steer with clarity and compassion. If you found this journey into the Nostradamus Effect insightful, please give this video a like, share it with friends, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming explorations into history, prophecy, and the lessons they hold for our lives today. Until next time, walk forward with open eyes and a steady heart.